The world as we know it has forever changed. The global lockdown brought on by the pandemic has transformed our concept of place into hybrid metaspaces. These are spaces where our homes became workplaces, schools, gyms, restaurants, spaces to meditate and to find hope despite such great loss and hardship. Announcing the Build the World with Dolby Io Hackathon, we're inviting software developers and creators to build new solutions to address these new requirements of the world we live in. We realize the shift to remote working and the way we are now gathering has also created new challenges for software developers. With Dolby Io, you can now confidently build new communication solutions directly into your applications. With Dolby Voice, dealing with distracting noise and nuisances, poor connections with low-quality bandwidth, and delivering content to older devices is a solved problem. No longer technical debt on your product's roadmap. Dolby Io is more than a developer platform. It's access to decades of Dolby innovation to create audio, voice, and video experiences that are resoundingly lifelike, productive, and captivating. Now doctors can provide care through crystal clear video conferencing powered by Dolby Voice. Teachers can take advantage of spatial audio to create virtual classrooms that feel like in-person sessions. And businesses can rely on high-quality, real-time communications. At Dolby Io, we've taken our years of experience with delivering cinema-quality audio and video and packed it into our new SDKs to make high-quality communication effortless for software developers to bring their apps to life. We challenge you to leverage our SDKs to imagine and develop new apps that take real-time audio and video communications to the next level. We've invited some awesome companies to co-sponsor this hackathon, including Netlify to help simplify your app's deployment, and Cloudinary to easily store, transform, optimize, and deliver all your media assets with easy-to-use APIs. Individuals and teams will have the opportunity to compete for over $25,000 in cash and prizes. Winning teams will have an opportunity to stake their claim on our global Metaspace showcase and be featured on Meet Dolby Io. Please join us this fall for the Build the World with Dolby Io Hackathon.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dolby Io Build the World Hackathon. I'm Dan. I'm so excited to meet you all. Let's go ahead and get started and meet the team from Dolby. We have Jason, Katie, Griffin, Braden, and Michelle here with us. Let's go ahead and let you all wave hello. All right, so there we go. We also have with us from Cloudinary, Tessa, and let me say hello, Tessa.
Hello.
And we also have Phil from Netlify with us.
Hey Dan, hello everyone.
Awesome. So we are so happy to have everybody here. Let's really quickly find out with a super quick poll. How did you hear about our hackathon? So go ahead to the polls section. You can get to that through the little sidebar icon down in the bottom right and start filling in that poll. In the meanwhile, while you're filling out that poll, I want to go through some housekeeping items. At any time during this, you can drop your questions into the chat, and you can go to the questions tab for that. And this session, of course, is going to be recorded, so you can check it out later if you need to. And as you're doing now, there is polls that we're going to be doing throughout this event. And I will tell you right now, there's going to be some reasons why you're going to want to stick around throughout this entire event. But I'm not going to tell you yet, but let's kind of get going. How's the polls doing? Looks like we've got a few folks in there filling out the polls, and let's move on. All right, so what is the challenge? You know, the idea that we had was to create innovative and new hybrid communications apps and experiences featuring Dolby Io. And the idea was have it in the context of a spatial context, because we understand that the work and the world out there has kind of changed over the last year and a half. And I'm going to introduce you to Jason. He's our developer relations manager here at Dolby Io. And Jason, why don't you tell the folks exactly how this whole idea came about?
Yes, thanks, Dan. So I think it all starts with this idea that what does it mean to meet somebody at a place when you can't physically be there? And I think there's a couple of key elements to that. Place has a purpose and it has a feeling. And so when we think about tools or layout to support a purpose, right? If you're in an office, well, you're sitting at a table around people because you're having a conversation, you're trying to make decisions, or you have a whiteboard so that you can jointly see things. If you're in a doctor's office, there's diagnostic tools, things that are purpose built for that environment. If you're in a gym, maybe you're looking at a mirror or you have instructions or movement charts. Similarly, there's a feeling to a place, right? If you're in a coffee shop, you're expecting music, a little bit more of a relaxed environment. If you're in your neighborhood park, you might be looking to have tranquil or play a game. If you're in a classroom, removing distractions becomes really important. Or if you're in a museum, you might just be wanting to talk to a friend while looking at artwork. I think when you see some of our demos, you'll understand that the challenge here is to literally pick a place on the map and decide what does it mean to meet at that place. Imagine how it's different to create that purpose and that feeling. All right, back over to you.
Awesome, Jason. Appreciate that. So next quick live poll, we're going to ask you, have you yet signed up for Dolby Io? There's a couple of questions in the chat I'll hit right now. Jeremy asked, what is the team member limitations, number of members? 3 to 5 is a good size. Anything more than that, it gets a little challenging to manage. And of course, the more team members, the more of that prize money you'll have to split between you. And the next question was from Robert. Will endpoints be available? I assume you're talking about Dolby Io, and you can sign up now. That's what the question on the poll is all about. If you go to dolby.io, you'll be able to sign up for the service, and the communication API endpoints are the ones you're going to want to hit. All right, let's move forward. So as Jason mentioned, we have this geospatial context of what we're wanting to kind of demo apps that we've created to give you some thought starters. They're really not the final result. These are kind of aspirational apps that we're throwing out there as ideas that you might want to do. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the generic meeting. And Braden, why don't you start talking about the features of the generic meeting, and I'll pull up the video demo while we do that.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Hi, everybody. So the generic meeting demo is kind of what we've all been really used to using during these pandemic times. You can think of it as being like your basic, most standard example of what you would expect out of a video conference meeting. You can control your microphone, turn it on and off, your video on and off. You can adjust which camera you're outputting with. And of course, you can jump in there with a bunch of people to chat with your friends or study for a class, etc.
Thanks, Braden. And the next app that we want to introduce is the water cooler. Katie, you can probably tell us a little bit more about how this one was put together. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to show you what the video demo looks like. How's that?
Great, thanks, Dan. Yes, so the water cooler app was built in React and Firebase, and what you can do is you can move the avatars across the screen.
Hello.
Hi, Katie.
You want to tell us a little about the water cooler?
Awesome. This is the water cooler app, and as you can see, we are rendered as avatars that can move about the space using our. It is built with React, a Firebase time database backend for charging the location of the avatars. An interesting function of this application in particular is you can only hear participants who are in the same cell as you. As participants move across.
Cool. And so that is a brief overview of the water cooler. And the last one we'll do a short video on is the classroom app. And again, this classroom app was built in React with Firebase. It shows custom layouts, teacher controls, who's speaking and when. Take a look at the video demo.
One of the challenges we see with the classroom is a lot of people speaking. So what we've done is developed an application that allows the teacher to come in there, share their screen, be able to answer questions directly one-on-one with each of the students. So in order to do that, one of the students would have to raise their hand. Hi, Katie. Now Katie can hit the space bar and ask the question. What's your question, Katie?
Hello. I'm holding down the space bar to talk so you can hear me. My question is, I can see a screen next to you. Why is it empty?
Well, that's the screen sharing feature. So if I click on the screen sharing feature, I can select from my various desktops and share that. So here we see what's going on in our chat within the DevRel team. Pretty cool. Well, as you can see, there's a lot of that.
All right. So that was the classroom app. Again, all three of these app samples are going to be available shortly for you to take a look and use that as a opportunity to be able to use it as a starter application. And again, these are not what you're limited to, but just examples to get you going. So moving on. Let us know in the polls really quickly, which one interests you the most? Like, what was your favorite app demo that you saw today? Give you a moment to answer that. All right. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Tessa. She's from Cloudinary, and we're super excited to have Tessa here to chat about Cloudinary's participation in this hackathon.
Hello, I am sharing my screen. So if you have not heard of Cloudinary, with Cloudinary, you can transform and manipulate images and video in real time through URL transformations or through our APIs. To find our SDKs and libraries, you can find it here right at cloudinary.com/documentation. So I'm just scrolling down. There's add-on integrations as well with machine learning and AI related things, as well as like auto tagging, detection, facial detection. So to get started and easily learn how to make your first transformation, just go to image transformation and you can find an overview and examples of different ways to manipulate images and video. So for example, scrolling down, you'll see all different ways of working with images, video transformations. You can also work with different ways of videos, such as cropping, changing the height and width automatically through the URL. Also, if you go to CodePen, you can find a lot of different examples. For example, if you want to upload images and videos, you can make a simple widget with just HTML or CSS, HTML and CSS, uploading, for example, upload here, and then refresh. And then now you see the image that I uploaded right inside of my media library. Also, another thing that we have for documentation is called mediajams.dev. And this is kind of like CodePen, but it has more content involved that explains exactly what the code is doing in the code demo. For example, you want to upload with Netlify functions with Cloudinary images. And every single one of these content has a code sandbox embedded. So you can see the live demo right here, and you can see how the code works by just going to the code sandbox link, and you can fork it. All of it is open source, so you can borrow any code you'd like that you see off CodePen or on the Media Jams website, and it shows you exactly how to work with Cloudinary. So also, to make it easier to pick up and learn with Cloudinary, we are going to release a weekly side quest challenge. And some of the challenges, it's going to start out very simple, a couple-minute challenge, and then every week we're going to add something more or do something more with it. Or maybe it's as simple as uploading an image or selecting some images and generating holiday cards. So we have some holiday themed side quests coming up that we're currently working on releasing for this hackathon. So we have a lot of fun activities and a lot of swag to give away, and I'm really excited. And if anyone has questions, I'll be available, as well as my team. We have several of us here to answer questions.
Thank you, Tessa.
Thank
Next up, we have Phil from Netlify.
Hey there. All right. Thanks, thanks, Dan. Let me see if I can share my screen. So you should be able to. There we go. That's what we're here to look at. So thanks for having me along. I'm very excited to be able to participate, and for Netlify to be able to just offer a little bit of something to help people with the hackathon. A quick primer of what Netlify is, now that I've waved hello. In fact, I'll say hello a little bit more. I'm based in the UK. My name's Phil Hawksworth. I'm a Director of Developer Experience at Netlify. So that means I'm part of the DevX team who work with developers using the platform, trying to get the best out of the platform, which I'll talk about in just a moment. Should you need to ask any questions of me outside of this hackathon, or if you're encountering Netlify and you want to ask questions, you can always find me on Twitter. I'm Phil Hawksworth on Twitter, and I'm always very happy to answer questions. As you've already heard, there are going to be office hours, and I'll be around in some of that as well. But for the sake of just now, a little bit of a primer, what is Netlify? It may be you haven't heard of Netlify before. Tessa did mention it very kindly a moment ago, and it was at the top of the show. But Netlify is a platform for building and deploying web projects. So if you are building a user interface for your application and your API, that's all stuff that can live on Netlify. And we have a bunch of things for that to help you along the way. There are things like continuous integration, continuous deployment that we can run for you. We have the hosting infrastructure, which is all part and parcel of it. And I kind of sometimes talk about Netlify as being a lot of integrations and workflow sugar to try and make the process of building things as web applications just a little bit easier. But that's a lot of words. What's the TLDR for this? Well, the TLDR for this is push code, get a URL. So if you're working with GitHub or another Git repository, when you connect that to Netlify, every time you commit and push your code to your repository, it'll update the URL that corresponds to that on some hosting environment. You can go simpler. We do a drag and drop as well. You know, if you have a folder with some assets you want to get onto the web, you can go to drop.netlify.com, drop a folder onto that icon, and you will get instantly URL that's shareable and is on the web and can be the source of your website. But things get a bit more interesting when you connect it with Git, which I think will be helping you all with teams as you're kind of building things out as part of the hackathon. But you can create sites on Netlify. You can go and look at the overview of the sites and see that every deployment lives on forever, so you can always roll back. I'll talk about that very briefly in just a second. And you can watch as your builds run in Netlify as they travel their way to the hosting environment and become a site on the URL that you can send people to. In brief, very, very quickly, the model for this is a bit different to maybe a traditional stack where you've got web servers and load balancers and databases and things. Netlify tries to be a bit simpler, where everything that you create kind of lives on a content delivery network or a big hosting infrastructure. And then behind the scenes, you can be doing a build, maybe in your development environment locally or in Netlify as part of that continuous integration. And that can be triggered by code or content changes. But all of that stuff can happen, get pushed to Netlify automatically, and then out onto the web as a resource. These things are what we call them immutable and atomic, and I won't talk too much about that, but ultimately it means that your sites go live when everything's ready. So when maybe deploy number 88 is the one that's live, and then you start pushing more assets up to Netlify, up to your repo, well, we won't start serving those things until everything's there, and then the latest version can go live. But you can always roll back. You can always roll back to any previous version, no matter where it is, which just means that it's kind of helpful if you're building things out in a hackathon and you need to make sure you can launch things and serve things without fear of the speed that you're moving, breaking stuff. But again, the TLDR is push code, get a URL. And that's true for your UI and for your serverless API. And I think the serverless API might be where things get particularly interesting for you, because I know that you're going to be stitching services together. So you should know that if in your project, if you create a folder called Netlify and a functions folder within that, then you can be dropping JavaScript or Python or Go or TypeScript into there, and you'll get a URL that corresponds to that that then will be available on the web. So this is a really helpful tool for building out your serverless APIs. In fact, the Dolby team have done this already. They've already built something for you, which might be a good starter project, a starter resource. This is in the Dolby Io samples organization in GitHub. There's a short URL for you to find that at /Dolby token. That's an API token server, a great tool for you to be able to use as part of your hackathon. I think Dan might talk about that shortly as well, but also a useful resource if you just want to see how to create a serverless function and get it deployed on Netlify. That's a nice example. I'd also point you to, I don't want to take too much more of your time, I'd also say if you're starting to use serverless functions for the first time, you can go to find that at serverless, and there's a course by one of my colleagues, which is just a bunch of very short, like five-minute videos to help you get up and running with serverless and get them deployed on Netlify as well. There is lots more to explore on Netlify. I won't go into all of those things now, but I think you could get digging in there, and I'd be very curious to know how you get on. But have a great hackathon. I'll hand things back over to Dan.
Thanks, Phil. That's awesome to hear. And yes, we do have some sample code up there on how to set up a token server and push it directly to Netlify, and a copy that gets automatically made to your GitHub. org. So it makes it super easy to authenticate with our applications. We're going to go through all of that at the office hours this week, as well as future office hours. There'll be additional stuff. So let's real quickly talk about what to submit. You know, there's been some questions in the chat about the rules and all. The rules are posted on the DevPost site, so definitely check those out for deeper bit. But what do we want to get at the end of this hackathon when you hit submit? Well, first off, we want you to build to our theme. We want you to use our APIs. We want you to have that as a hosted test flight demo app, or a hosted app, or a test flight demo app if you're doing native. Again, we're not restricting you to just web apps, but again, you will need to be able to show us your work. Along with that, a video pitch is really helpful to demonstrate exactly what the app does and shows the work. And then finally, we have the code repo for verification. And this is very important. If you don't want to make it open source and share it publicly, that's okay. You're just going to need to follow the instructions and send us a link so that we can view that independently. Again, we need to verify that it's your code. You can base things on our starter code samples, but it will not qualify unless you've done some work to that. So just again, we're not looking for clones of the work. We want you to take that as a starter place and build from there. And then finally, you do need to have a completed profile. If you are hacking in teams, again, it's great to have one person elected to manage that, because one person is going to be responsible for doling out the cash prize to be shared. So again, build to our theme, build something functional and amazing, use our APIs. You have to use Dolby Io APIs. It's optional, but of course, we would love to see you use Cloudinary and Netlify within the context of your app. You want to host that app. You want to have a great video pitch. It can be as complex or as simple as you like. It's okay to do a video conference call and record that. That's fine. Just show us the functionality and the concept that you want to transmit. You want to have that code repo for verification, or if it is private, make sure we get the information before the close of submissions. And finally, you have to have a completed profile. So now we know what to submit as far as your entry goes. Let's talk about the judging criteria. So first off, we're looking for quality. We really want to have apps that really have a quality feel, and apps that really are high levels of achievement and show your originality. That's super important. Implementation, that should be given. By this point, you realize we care about how you build things. We want to make sure that you're prepared, and that's why we've built these office hours throughout the next coming weeks, so that you can ask us questions and not get stuck anywhere along the way. The impact of your submission is super important. We want to see, have you thought about the business impact? Have you thought about the humanitarian value? What sort of things does your project do uniquely to help other people around the world communicate in the geospatial context? And finally, we love design. We want to see a polished, beautiful, inspirational app that really truly engages users. So that's the judging criteria. Up next, let's talk about the weekly side quest. And here's Michelle, and she's going to tell you more about the program.
Hello, everybody. So once again, welcome to the Build the World Hackathon. So we're really excited to announce that every week we are going to be presenting these side quest challenges. And the idea of these is that anyone can win because we'll be giving away over 200 prizes consisting of $5 to $20 gift cards and this exciting Dolby Io swag pack you see on the right side. These quests will include challenges such as attending our office hours beginning this week, forming a team, posting to social about your projects and giving sneak peeks of what you're working on, and of course, submitting your final project. And what's important to note here is that we'll be awarding the most highly engaged hackers with this limited edition swag pack at the end of the hackathon. And all you have to do is keep participating throughout the weeks and win. So specifically to keep up with these side quests, be sure to watch out for weekly emails, updates to our DevPost site, and social posts where we'll have instructions on how to complete these side quests and continue the challenges throughout the weeks. So with that, we wanted to announce the official launch of our Dolby Io Champions program, which is our first ever developer ambassador program here at Dolby Io. And because we're kind of looking at the different hackers who are very highly engaged at the hackathon, we'd like to invite them especially to apply to this program at the end. So I'm going to share the landing page for this hackathon. One moment. So just to introduce a bit more about the Dolby Io Champions program, we are essentially looking for a community of 5 to 10 developer ambassadors who are just really passionate about Dolby Io and audiovisual technology. You guys will have the chance to collaborate with the Dolby Io team to provide feedback on our APIs, specifically to our product and engineering folks. And also you'll be creating compelling content, whether it's sample applications, blogs, posting to Stack Overflow or social media. And this content you create will play a vital role in informing and educating and ultimately supporting the wider developer community when it comes to our APIs. And to thank you for championing for Dolby Io in this program, you'll get special perks and benefits like tickets and speaking opportunities at our events, special swag and badges that mark you as a Dolby Io champion, features on our blogs and social, early access to beta products, and kind of like what the office hours we're having for this hackathon, you'll be able to connect with our product and engineering teams, and of course, being able to connect with your fellow champions during the program. So once again, I wanted to reiterate, we're really looking for people who are active and just passionate to contribute to the developer community. You're also just excited about audiovisual technology and all its diverse use cases across different verticals, for example, conferencing or telehealth, and just ultimately ready to explore and build something really cool with our audio APIs. So back to the slides.
Thank you, Michelle. So but actually, before we get there, I want to go and introduce you folks to Dolby Io at the top of the show. 1 second here. All righty. So as we've mentioned at the top of the show, we've built this great showcase around what you can build, but a lot of you might be wondering, what is Dolby Io technology? We offer communications and media APIs. For this particular hackathon, we are going to focus on the communications APIs. And to help me walk through this, we'll go ahead and let our team walk through the various pieces they have on their run of show. So who wants to start out?
All right, I'll jump in. All right. So as you're starting to get started and trying to figure out what to do with Dolby Io, I just wanted to provide some of the resources that we have available to you. So let me share my screen real quick, just to show you a little bit of our website. So if you go to Dolby Io, you'll find a little bit of information around what the platform is capable of and what makes it special. In particular, if you look at our products, you'll see that there are two categories. For this hackathon, we are focused on the communications section. If you're also looking for media APIs, if you do podcasting, social media videos, things like that, the whole media area has a lot of very fascinating tools available as well. But for the hackathon, we are focusing on the communications. And so that means things like video calls. And some of the features that you can make use of as part of telling your story about place includes real-time replay, call recording, screen sharing, how you integrate files, or live streaming applications as well. Then in addition to that, what really makes it special too is what you hear. It's the audio element of our API. So this includes things like noise and echo suppression, resilience to network issues, and secure, reliable, integrated environment that allows you to really hear a little bit of a difference when you're speaking from one person to another. And that's all part of the platform as a whole. Now, when you start getting more to the technical parts, I'm going to pass it over to Griffin to take a look at our documentation.
Yes, thank you, Jason. So let me share my screen really quick over here, where I will be able to show you our documentation page at docs.dolby.io, which you can see up here in the corner, which is going to be your main landing page to get all information to get started with our platform, where you can see the communications APIs. This is going to be the main source of information you're going to be looking for in this project, where we have a JavaScript, a Swift, a Java, as well as an Electron-based SDK, which you can take a look at all the different resources that we have in the Get Started area that we have going on over here, where it gives you a nice little introduction of everything going on, where you can see all the different REST APIs, webhooks, and UX kits that we have, which we have a React UX kit as well as being able to see all of the different Getting Started guides for the different SDKs that I mentioned before, such as JavaScript, iOS, Android, and desktop SDKs going on. And we also have some other things like troubleshooting, as well as some example projects that we have over here. You can also see the blog up here on the top, which has a lot of other great useful resources that you could use as well, where we have a bunch of different developer blogs that will help you do things. And even more specifically, you can click on the communications tab up here to be able to see some resources that are specific towards the communications API. So for example, if you wanted to make a project that was all about live streaming to Twitch, you can take a look at this one by Fabian, where it's going through all the different steps you have to take to be able to use Dolby Io to live stream over to Twitch. I highly recommend you check out all these different resources so you can just be as prepared as possible to build the best app that you can possibly do. I will now pass it back off to Katie to show off more of the sample apps.
Awesome. Thank you, Griffin. And let me share my screen for a moment here. Great. So as you can see here, this is the documentation landing page that Griffin just showed you, docs.dolby.io. And in addition to seeing all of that, great text and resources, let's say you're saying to yourself, that's great, show me the code. I just want to get started and write some code here. So here's what you can do. We can head over to the project gallery. And within this project gallery, what you can see here are a variety of different projects and repos to demonstrate uses of the communications API. So let's say I'm a JavaScript developer and I read about something in the documentation called command service, and I want to learn more about that. I can filter out by language, feature, or product, and oh, cool, look, here's one here with these cool avatars moving around. So let me click in here, and I can see the lovely DevRel team and Michelle inside this GIF. I can see an overview of the features used here and links to additional documentation. I can see some key concepts and code samples I can copy and paste right into my application, and maybe what's next, additional resources I can do. We'd also love, as you're going through the documentation, if this is helpful for you or not. We always appreciate iterating and improving our documentation to support developers. in any way we can. Finally, great, where's the code? If we click into here, view source on GitHub, we can head on over to the GitHub repo, and I'm going to pass it off to Braden, and he can talk a little bit about what's in these repos.
Thanks for that, Katie. Yeah, so if you navigate over to github.com/Dolby Io-samples, you'll find, as the name entails, a bunch of sample code relating to some of the projects that we talk about in the blogs that Griffin outlined, or in the project gallery that Katie outlined. And you can navigate through here and filter by things like language or search for some keywords. I really recommend actually coming and having a look at some of the samples, as when you're formulating an idea, it's a great place to start to look at the kind of architecture and logistics of building your project. With that, I'll hand it back to Dan.
Thank you. Surprise, surprise. You've stuck with us this whole time. We're super excited about that. Here's Michelle Moore to talk about the SideQuest challenge you just achieved.
Yes, thank you, Dan. So like he said, we have actually presented this first SideQuest by being the kickoff event. So you've already completed the first part simply by attending and engaging with us. And then to officially complete this SideQuest, please fill out the form in the pop-up right now to log your participation. And then as a thanks, we'll be rewarding you with a $5 snack or coffee on us.
Thanks, Michelle. So, just a reminder, the next office hours we're going to have will be on Wednesday, October 27th, 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. This is a chance for us to show you a few things with the code, but more importantly, it's for you to reach out to our teams to ask specific questions. So super important to do that. I want to finally thank our sponsors, both Tessa and Phil, Tessa from Cloudinary and Phil from Netlify, for joining us. And also to remind you that our team is definitely here to help you out. So for that, let me let the team wave goodbye. And thank you again for all of you for joining us on this. We will stick around for a couple of moments on the last slide. If you have any final questions to the team, we'll be happy to let you know. But again, I want to give you back a little bit of your time towards the end of this. And thank you so much for joining our hackathon kickoff event. It's been a really fun time talking about our products and showing you what you have to do. And we really hope you'll get a chance to do some of the side quests that are being offered by ourselves and our sponsors, as well as completing that final project that is going to wow us. That's what we're really here about today, is really getting that really wow factor from the stuff you guys build. So thank you all for coming to the event. And again, don't forget to reach out. So we'll take a look at the any last comments in the chat. And again, thank you all.